All right, let's get a new 30-minute game going. This is day 76 of a daily upload of a chess game. 1e4, expecting to see e5, knight f3, knight c6 is very common, protecting the pawn that we are attacking. See what our opponent comes up with. Yep. Bishop to b5, the ruy-lopez. D6 I'm not familiar with. It's another way to protect this pawn. I think the move here is we'll go and get castled. You never know, that may prove to be incorrect. So we can't take this pawn because it is defended. Takes here looks interesting. But I think more likely we'll push all the way up to d4. Let's see, can we push d4? Takes. Yeah, and open up our dark squared bishop in that way. Or we could push c3 first. I think the advantage of pushing c3 is that if they want to harass our bishop, it gives it a nice place to go, because if we place it on b3, it can be harassed by this knight on a5. So let's go ahead and play c3 first. Develop this nice big center. Push, if takes, then takes back, and we've got our pieces right there in the middle of the board. How nice. This feels like we're off to a good start. Bishop comes out to d7, breaking the pin. So now if we take, I guess take. We still have d4 exceptionally well defended, but maybe their knight can move out to, I don't know, a5, or once we've taken it can move to b4, which looks like it could be a little bit dangerous, but I think we can still safely push d4 here. Queen to a4 looks interesting, adding another attacker to this file. But if we trade like this, okay. So here, a decision: do we take, or what do we do here? Takes. If we drop back, they will probably play b5. Sort of a little bit ruining their nice pawn structure that they have here. I don't mind bishop to b3, because then we threaten this. There's often tactical ideas with bishop takes f7, king takes back, knight up with check. That looks, it's often fun, and I think has led to exciting complications in previous games. So I don't mind dropping our bishop back here. If they want to take, we can take back. This pawn is still guarded by our queen. They get their dark squared bishop out. How very interesting. Are there any tactical ideas here? If they castle. Oh, there it is. Oh no, that doesn't quite work. So what I was imagining was takes. We get our knight out. Oops. Knight out here. They castle. And then knight to e6 forks their queen and their rook. But that square is guarded by their pawn, so that doesn't work out. Doesn't quite work out. Okay. So what do we do then? We could push here. I don't love that. I guess it forces their knight to move, and good squares are sort of passive and retreaty. But I don't love it. What else could we do? Rook out to e1 is always a good move. We could get our dark squared bishop out. Maybe just to e3. We can get our queen up to e2 and like rook over to e1. I don't know. I don't know really what we want to do here. Knight out could come like that, putting pressure on this e5 pawn, perhaps allowing us to take it, and getting a knight on this nice e5 square. Yeah, let's do that. This feels pretty good. Knight up to c4 after castles. If we can get a knight onto... Oh! They take the pawn. That was hanging. That was absolutely free to take. So let's evaluate and see... Do they have anything that they're threatening with this knight? Most of these will lose the knight, unless they're willing to sacrifice it. Loses the knight. Back where it came from, piece in the way, loses the knight. These both lose the knight. Okay. So maybe a little bit dangerous to have a knight this far advanced, but I think we can move our bishop, or move our rook to e1, which is sort of where we want it anyway, and be a-okay with the situation. So we're forcing their knight to move back now. Actually, there's a tactic here. If knight takes, king takes, bishop comes out, king moves back. No, because then they're trading 2 pieces for 1, and that doesn't work out for our opponent. Okay. This does feel tactically charged. I think an exciting start to the game. This is interesting. If we move our bishop back to c2, we have a clear bead on this h7 pawn. So if they move their knight back, I think we have this really nice threat of just taking that pawn wholesale. I think especially bad if they have castled. So if they move back, which I think is not their only square, like I said, they can move to f5 and then takes. That's sort of an ugly position to be in. So I guess that doesn't actually work out. So I think knight to g5 is probably a good move for our opponent here. But I would prefer to see knight to f6. Knight to g5, they could also support it with this h6 move, which is probably something they want to play anyways if they're looking to get castled kingside. I think perhaps now our opponent is evaluating whether or not they can press their attack. I'm looking at both of these bishop moves, back to b3 and c2. Both of those seem like they would result in exciting tactics to follow. Yeah, okay. What I don't want to see is bishop down to g4. So I think we might actually have to take here. Can we do anything? Ooh, here's something. Takes. Oh, then we need to trade queens, and I don't actually super want to trade queens. So maybe we hold on to the tension a little bit longer. Knight out to c4 as originally discussed. Yeah, permitting potentially this nice strong knight on e5 that will look especially imposing once we take this pawn. Our king is nice and castled, hoping to hit their king soon. I actually need to go let my dog inside real quick. I'll be right back. our opponent kind enough to allow me the time to go do that. I'm interested if they take here. Takes. Rook, sacrifice. Probably queen takes. Bishop takes on g5. I think that works out. Because then we're trading, we trade one piece. So let's see how it works. They take, we trade one piece. We trade another piece. And then we take this piece for free. So we're down in exchange, but we're up a full piece, and I think that's a good trade. Plus, we're threatening their queen. So I think that works out. So if they take here, I think we have a winning tactic. If they want to open up the e-file for attacking, I think that would be very exciting indeed. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. They push. Very interesting. Attacking our knight. I think that's a strong move. What can we do here? Could trade. And then take this pawn for free. Oh, that looks good. Takes with check. That's very forcing. They can't move their queen in front of it. They could move their knight out, I guess, but then we can take their knight. They probably move their king back to f8, losing castling rights. Yeah, so let's make this trade. And then come out with check. I guess they can move their rook or their knight back. Or their bishop back. That is the piece that it is. And I wonder if takes, queen takes, rook takes with check. Oh, we need to get this knight out of here too. Because I think it takes, they can drop their knight back. Okay, so we're getting there. They take back. And then we take here. Oh, no, we can't take there because that will be defended by their light squared bishop. Darn, I messed that up. Of course, if they take back with their pawn, then we're in a fine place. So we can threaten their light squared bishop. Causing it to move, hopefully, somewhere. I guess if they take and we threaten, they can move up to here. And that's sort of an imposing structure. We have this check available to us if we need it. I didn't quite think this through. I should have just taken the pawn, I think. So we could push this pawn up, and then they need to move, maybe they move here, hitting our knight, and then we have takes. I want to take this pawn with check. That is the most important thing in the world to me right now. And of course, if they don't take back, then we have takes check. And that's very forcing. Probably queen comes out. Yeah, that would be fine by me. Takes with check, queen comes out, and then we get our nice rook takes on e4 check, which I would love to see. Our opponent is having a nice long think about the situation. Maybe realizing that without their king castled, we have a tactically charged situation. King takes, push. So let's evaluate this again. If we push, they can't take because our queen guards that square and adds another attacker to their dark squared bishop. So push, driving them maybe here, but then this adds a defender to the knight. Oh yeah, that all works out, I think. So let's threaten their bishop. Play here. Takes. Maybe they're... Or do we take this bishop first? Takes here. And then they have to move their king. This is looking pretty good. I think you should get castled a little bit earlier. If you've got the black pieces in the ruy-lopez. Of course, I don't know what the main line or the right moves are, but it seems advantageous to me. Expecting to see bishop over... They take first. Okay. So let's take here with check. I think is probably the first move. Takes with check. They can't... The only piece they can place in front of it is their queen. So their king has to move to one of these two squares. If it moves to d7, then we take with check. That's very forcing. And if it moves to f8, then I think we take regardless. Okay, so let's take here first. Cannot castle out of check. So king to f8. Oh my gosh. What is happening? So I guess we also have queen to g4 check. As far as I can tell, I mean, they can't move to any of these squares. The only move they have is f5. We take that piece and then we win the game. So I believe this is the end of it. It looks like a very nice fork, if only that pawn was protected by something. But I think this is the end of the game. They should have moved their king to relative safety there on f8. I think they would still be down a piece for ignoring this threat. But, you know, what are you going to do? Pawn to f5, queen takes on f5. Checkmate. All these squares are covered. Many of them by more than one piece. e6 in particular is hit by 3 different pieces. Brutal. With apologies to our opponent for the very quick game. And now we just hang out. Thank you for joining. Oh, our opponent resigns. Yeah, mate in 1 to come. Let's take a look at the review. I don't have the full analysis package, so we will simply step through manually. Go back to the top. E4, E5. So this is the ruy-lopez. We've seen this a handful of times in the run so far. D6 I'm not familiar with. Something maybe to study up on a little bit. Castles is a decent enough move. They get their knight out. Important to know, we leave this pawn hanging. The engine is suggesting the immediate d4, I believe threatening d5, or rook to e1, threatening our pawn on e4. I don't play either of those. Knight takes e4 is the top engine move, resulting in a slightly worse position. Push d4. They harass our bishop. Bishop to d3 is listed as the best move here. Another way to reinforce this pawn. Drop back. Knight out like this was not a good move. They take, we get our rook out. And actually, knight to g5, the engine is saying was not a very strong move. They're recommending knight back to f6. And I wonder, bishop takes, bishop takes. Huh, interesting. Knight comes out. They push, and this is, I think, the beginning of the tactical excitement. We take, they take back. We take here, they take back. We push, and then they make the critical mistake, I think, taking this bishop first rather than dealing with the threat on their own piece. So then we have rook takes e4, check. The engine has, I mean, all 3 moves are not good. King to f8 is the strongest, the most resilient option. Queen to e7 loses the queen to the rook, like that. And of course, as we saw, king to d7 is mate in 2, and queen to d4 check. f5, queen takes f5, checkmate. Quick game. All-time high of 1185, feels pretty good. We're barreling towards 1200, and I'm very excited about that. I'll call it here. Have a good one, y'all.